Oscar De La Hoya coming up next month, but our next bout tonight features a fighter who can deliver the kind of goods that most fans pay to see heavyweights bring to the ring. This man can flat out punch. He terrorized opponents as an amateur in South Africa, but he's taken his paralyzing power with him to the pros. When he hits you, he usually hurts you. But can he take that brute strength and add the other necessary elements to become a true force on the heavyweight scene? For more on him, let's go to our man on the scene, Frank DeFord, for his unique look at a man called Courage.
Yes, indeed, Nick. The name is Courage, but the question is talent. Tonight may very well tell us whether South Africa's first major black heavyweight will end up as an historical footnote or go on to make his mark. Certainly he has the name, Courage Tshabalala. And certainly he has the record. After he was discovered as a security guard in a jewelry store in Johannesburg, he won 71 of 72 amateur fights, 70 by knockout. His professional career, both in South Africa and the States, is just as impressive. 19 fights, 19 wins, 16 by knockout. But the question is Courage being asked to show any real courage, or is he just knocking over a bunch of tomato cans set up by his manager, Lou Duva? He was showcased on a Madison Square Garden undercard back in May against a fighter named Tim Noble. He only won 7 matches and 16 fights. Tshabalala struggled to beat Noble, unable to contend with just the journeyman with a jab. The hotshot Zulu looked like another bully boy who can't hit a moving target. Tshabalala is 6'2", 275, and since the May disappointment, he's won 3 other easy fights. So tonight he's back with the real test against Brian Scott. But this time, the big-ticket audience comes skeptical. He's no longer the phenom. Tonight is the time to produce or become last year's phenom. Courage's name in Zulu translates to quiet warrior. So he's got a great name in every language, and he's got a great record. And now let's see if he can get some great reviews for this performance tonight. Jim Lampley and you other critics, down to you.
All right, thank you very much, Frank DeFord. We're always excited at these opportunities to see the early development of heavyweight Courage Tshabalala because, as Frank pointed out, he has the kind of explosive punching power which is in itself a natural charisma for a fighter. There's a look at the opponent tonight, Brian Scott. And it is Scott who enters the ring weighing 278 pounds. He's a giant. 21 wins against questionable opposition, all 3 losses by KO. He's had 12 knockouts of his own, and he is, in the classic sense, a journeyman as he makes the journey to Atlantic City here to provide yet another mark on the record one way or another for Courage Tshabalala. As you look at tonight's fighters' records on these graphics, we remind you that all the fighters' records are brought to you by The Ring, the Bible of boxing. And here is Tshabalala's entrance. Very personable young man, 19-0 with 16 knockouts, as Frank pointed out. 12 of those knockouts in the first round. That's not quite as well as he did in that category as an amateur, but of course, it's time now for Courage to fight tougher and tougher opponents.
All right, good luck. Courage may punch like a 275-pounder, guys, but just a slight correction. He weighs 225. And he is one of the best young and natural punchers I've seen come along in the heavyweight division in a very long time. Well, you got the master puncher, George Foreman, here to evaluate Tshabalala and see what he can do as he goes against the 278-pound, 6'5" Scott. Not going to be all that easy a target to move off of his feet, although, as we pointed out, all 3 of Scott's losses were by knockout. And the rules of the bout are the same as those you've seen for the 2 preceding bouts. So as we run them down for you one more time, let's go up to Michael Buffer for the pre-fight intro.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, by way of Caesars Atlantic City Main Events and Budweiser present the big boys. We go to the heavyweight division. This bout scheduled for 10 rounds. The 3 judges scoring the contest on the 10-point must system will be Melvina Latham, Joseph Pasquale, and Barbara Perez. And when the bell rings, the referee for this bout will be Benji Estevez. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing white, trimmed with red flames and weighing in at 278 pounds. He comes to us from the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, with a professional record of 21-3 with 12 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Brian Bam Bam Scott. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black, trimmed with gold and weighing in at 225 pounds. He comes to us from Eshowe, South Africa. He brings a perfect record of 19-0 with 16 KOs. Introducing the undefeated Courage Tshabalala.
Okay, Brian, Courage, I repeat again. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands at all times. Good luck to both of you. Touch up.
The last time we saw Scott, he had gotten married the night before the fight. And since that time, he's put on about 25 pounds. Draw your own conclusions.
That married life.
Among the three men to have knocked Scott out are Jorge Luis Gonzalez, who did it on the day after Scott's wedding in 1995, and Tommy Morrison. Got him in the second round back in '94. Tshabalala showed a few mechanical flaws back in May in the Garden when he had so much trouble with Nobles.
Tshabalala's got this great reach. Just when the opponent pulls back, his arms are a lot longer than you think, even if you have a height advantage. But Scott is not pulling back. That may cause some problems for Tshabalala.
Already, the left eye of Scott is reddened.
And Tshabalala going to the body relentlessly here in the first minute of the fight. He has already been downstairs about 4 or 5 times with combinations, and that will take a toll on Scott.
Yeah, what happens, you keep going down to the body and it makes your opponent lowers his guard to protect his body, and then you go on top.
Tshabalala focusing body all the way so far. He's thrown the jab upstairs, but all of the power punches have gone toward Scott's considerable guts.
And this is the second time the referee has said something to him already about a below the borderline punch.
And Scott's trunks are extra high, so he's going to have a lot of problems with that tonight. He's got this cup that goes up and the trunks.
Tshabalala looking to land a right hand. He's trying to load that right up to the body now, and there he released it to the chest of Scott. Scott now begins to loosen up and fire a couple of jabs, and Tshabalala jabs in response.
Now, Scott is big, and if only he knew how to fight big, he'd be in good shape tonight. You keep your left jab out, keep your right hand up, and you're in good shape all night if you're bigger and taller.
A lot of really big guys never make use of their size advantage, George. We've seen it so many times.
They always bend down. You never bend down to your guy. Make him think that you're taller, never present to him a lower target. Everything should be reaching up.
Very low blow by Tshabalala there.
That was on the waist. That was clean.
The referee was partly shielded from that punch and said that it was a clean blow, although it looked right on the border.
Good left hook to the body by Scott, and he tries to follow it in, and Tshabalala gets a chance to counter with the right. That's the first power punch he landed upstairs.
Keep him up now. Let's keep him up.
And as we go to the between rounds period, between rounds 1 and 2 for Tshabalala and Scott, let's let you hear something that took place a little earlier in Riddick Bowe's dressing room.
Obviously, we had a sound problem. We weren't getting all of the instructions from Larry Hazard to the Bo camp.
That was the chairman of the New Jersey State Athletic Commission, Larry Hazard, along with referee Eddie Cotton, and they were talking to Bo about rules interpretations for the fight.
That was a good round. That was a great round. Just to start the better things.
Just keep them up, okay?
Referee wisely reminded Tshabalala as he came out to keep his punches up.
Tshabalala again showing you his ability to counter as he came over a looping right hand by Scott, went straight to the body again.
Keep him up now.
Tshabalala made a mistake. He gave Scott some courage he didn't have in the beginning.
And he's going to get penalized a point sooner or later, perhaps sooner, if he keeps this up.
Now that was a slip, not a knockdown. But you saw Benji Esteves once again warning Tshabalala to keep them up, as Larry pointed out.
Scott is able to land his jab at will. And when you can get a good jab in as often as you want, you can always get a good right hand behind it.
Well, one of Tshabalala's problems earlier this year against Noble was an absence of head movement, and when a guy as slow as Brian Scott is able to land his jab against you, you need to learn more about moving your head.
So when you're into a fight and things are not going your way, start boxing a bit. It's not a crime to box. Tshabalala is not trying to even get any points. A knockout or nothing. And he can very well get a knockout if he boxes himself into it.
Yeah, but you know what I notice is that his left hand is very tentative. He's not putting anything behind it, just like that. He's not making Scott think about that left. He's not pumping it in there with all of it, with some power. And
probably he doesn't have any power in the jab aspect of it. All the power is when when you're far out. Some guys don't believe in a jab. They never do. If they get knockouts by left hooks, they never be schooled on
He's
it.
this far along in his development process and does not yet have a quality left jab. Is he ever going to have it, George?
He can get a left jab. He's going to have to probably get some trainers into the gym who believes in the left jab.
Yeah. Ray Mercer's 35 years old and hasn't really learned to jab until the past 2 or 3 years, and now he has an excellent jab. So you can learn it later on in your career.
Now Scott is able to land some good left hooks here. And Tshabalala can benefit once he gets a lot of confidence and mix it up.
Tshabalala takes a hard right hand inside by Scott, and Tshabalala is stunned, and now Scott is landing a series of right hands, and this is getting dangerous for Courage Tshabalala, and that is justifiably a knockdown. And I don't think he's going to get up.
8, 9.
He's not. That's it. Courage Tshabalala has been knocked out by Brian Scott.
natural power isn't enough. Scott moved in behind the jab, patiently opened things up, got a knockout.
And Tshabalala's weaknesses grievously exposed there, as was the case earlier this year against Tim Noble. Noble seemed to outbox him. Scott wound up out-punching him. Calamitous turn of events in the early professional career of Courage Tshabalala. And maybe, as Frank DeFord suggested, he will become just a footnote.
Here you can see the beginning, the middle, and the end of the end, as Scott opened things up with a jab and finally landed something with muscle on it, and something more than muscles. So I guess that home cooking must have done him some good, George.
Oh, but that married life.
There you go. Brian Scott leans across the ropes and says, there is a God.
Just an opponent who turned out to be more of an opponent than Tshabalala's handlers expected.
So a shocking defeat for the former Zulu Warrior. And right now, let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 2 minutes, 54 seconds as referee Benji Estevez cannot let the bout continue following the knockdown. The winner by TKO victory from Chicago, Illinois, Brian Bam Bam Scott.
Courage Tshabalala congratulating Brian Scott on what is the biggest of 22 victories now in Brian Scott's career. So Tommy Morrison in 1994 was able to knock out Brian Scott. Jorge Luis Gonzalez was able to knock him out about a year and a half ago, but Tshabalala can't get it done, and technique, when you don't have it, is going to come back to haunt you. Scott found one opening and was able to blast his way through it.
Yeah, this Scott had a left jab, and he wasn't afraid to use it. He kept jabbing and jabbing, and finally the old right hand opened up, and he took advantage of it. Double right hands. Can you believe that with a guy with a midsection like that, throwing double right hands?
Let's tell his wife maybe she ought to let him lose a little bit more weight, and maybe he can get back
in the old block, a table, I mean.
Yeah, all right. Well, you saw